Hey guys, how's it going? Laura with Garden Answer. We are on Mackinac Island in Michigan right now. We are here for the Proven Winners Grand Garden Show, and we are here standing in front of Chestnut Cottage. I've been able to tour groups of people through this garden all afternoon, and I really want to show you guys around. So first thing, when you walk through this garden, if you look to my right, you see a huge tree. This is a chestnut tree, and then if you look to my left, which is the way we will be walking, you will see another chestnut tree, and that is why this garden is called Chestnut Cottage. So the amazing thing about this garden is that just 3 years ago there was nothing here except for the trees. There was a complete blank slate. So just imagine that. It only took 3 years to get it to look like this. When Jack Barnwell was the one who designed this garden, when he took this over, the limbs of these trees reached all the way to the ground. They were touching the ground. It was hard to get around or under them. So they had to do some severe limbing, just cutting the limbs up and really thinning the canopy of the tree out because it was creating so much dense shade that they had a hard time even growing a blade of grass under here. So after they did a bunch of tree maintenance, they were able to start in. So they had to start with some soil amending and then watering, some irrigating to kind of bring it back up to a plantable state. So you'll see a bunch of different just beautiful colors and textures worked in throughout this garden. You can tell it's kind of a part shade garden. There's ferns and hostas and hydrangeas, astilbes. I love this right here. We've got some form going on with the boxwoods, and then it's contrasted with the beautiful hydrangeas. Then of course some pockets of annuals here and there for some really intense color. And then if you take a close look at these flower beds, you see the intense use of ground covers, and that's on purpose because it really creates a low maintenance garden. It helps suppress weeds. It just prevents the need to mulch all of the time. So if you plant some of those ground covers that aren't going to just take over the land, they're actually very, very useful. So there's some vinca in here and some other things that which just really create that low maintenance environment. So they really only have to do their kind of fall and spring stuff, and then very minimal maintenance throughout the rest of the year. So here we have some astilbe, which we think is a variety called Visions, and it's gorgeous. It's making me jealous because I have a hard time growing astilbe in our climate, and it's just loaded with pollinators. Like there's been bumblebees all over on it all day long. There's one right down here too. So fun. Then if we move a little bit further down this way, you'll see how they've created kind of this little pocket in the garden, this little room. And this is the view that really makes me amazed that this garden is only 3 years old. I mean, look at the plantings, the hydrangeas and the roses, and there's some grasses and daylilies in there and lilac. I mean, just so full and beautiful. It makes me feel like I need to get with it in my garden. Like mine needs to look like this in 3 years. And then another interesting thing, this was built just when they started working on this garden, and then on the other side of the house you'll see another gate and fence that looks a lot like this, which is actually original to the house. The house is circa 1920s, so they really wanted to mirror some of the architecture so it looked like cohesive and like it belonged. And it's really beautiful. The arbor with the little bench seats in here, love it. And this garden, there are lots of different sizes of gardens that we're going through and getting to see on Mackinac Island. This is one of the smaller, more intimate gardens, and I really like it. It's very comfortable. It's very inviting. It's really lush. If you look at the border here, it's just planted up so full of ferns and ground covers. It just has that kind of woodland feel, which is amazing. The really cool thing I learned about this space was that when they originally started working on it, this big hedge of cedars back here, so it kind of spans the whole width of the property, they were grown all the way out to this rock wall. Like they were huge and overgrown. There was a rose garden back here at that time too that was, you can imagine if the cedars were that grown out, how, overgrown the roses had become. So the roses obviously were moved. They were removed and taken out, and the cedars were pruned way back so that they were more of a hedge and not so much taking over the garden. But then all the fencing, see that wattle fencing is what it's called? Let's head up here, see if we can get closer to it so you guys can see. The wattle fencing in here, all of the cedar branches that were cut off the trees when they pruned them back were used in this fence. And not a single nail, not a single anything, nothing is holding those together other than how they weaved them together, which is just, it's amazing, the artistry. This rock wall that we're walking by here was original but it was kind of dilapidated, so they had that rebuilt. It's all dry stacked, and this is actually my favorite. This is my favorite type of garden wall, garden edging, is the flat stacked rock. It looks like England to me. I really love it. And if we go this way, we get to this patio, which I learned something interesting about. So the brick, 3/4 of it is original to the house, and 1/4 of it they weren't able to use because it had deteriorated so bad. So when they were rebuilding the patio, they knew that they didn't have quite enough brick to build the whole patio. So he was thinking, well, what am I going to do? Because if I bring new brick in, it's not going to match. So he came up with this concept. And I know it's kind of dappled shade, I hope you can see, but there's a brick rug built into the middle of this patio, so a very on-purpose way to design new brick into an old area. And it's interesting that this brick is actually growing the moss better than the other brick, so it's really taking on that rug look. Really, really cool. I've never seen that before. All of the layers, all of the different terrace layers and different textures, and it's just so beautiful. It makes me want to figure out ways to create that depth. It really draws your eye back, and just, you know, we've got a really flat garden, so this is really inspiring to see the different levels and how they've created that. So if we head around this side of the corner, we'll see a beautiful climbing hydrangea right here. So you can see the blooms up top really well. There's a few down here. But what was amazing to me, you guys need to check out this bark. Look at that. I love it when plants offer so much more than just their blooms. I mean, that right there is so much winter interest. I can't even stand it. It's awesome. And then here's that other gate I was telling you about. So there's a gate and a fence section here that look quite a lot like the one they had built on the other side to kind of mirror that older style. And then if we just come around this way, you'll see Frank with the table. Hi. And then a cute little painted up bike there, bike planter, little pop of color over here. And that pretty much sums up the tour. It's a really neat garden space. I had a really good time touring this one. I loved touring this smaller, more intimate garden. It's really fun. So that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this garden tour, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.